10 interesting facts about Steve Jobs. Welcome to Lux Life family, where future millionaires and billionaires come to get motivated. If you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, then you're lagging behind the millionaires and billionaires. Jobs was born on February 24, 1955 in San Francisco, California. He is the co-founder and former CEO at Apple Incorporated. Here are some facts that make Steve, in a real sense, the Steve Jobs. So let's dive into the video. Number 1. He was an adopted child. His biological parents met at the University of Wisconsin at Madison. Under pressure from her parents and fearing scandal, his mother, Joan Skebbel, traveled to San Francisco to have the baby, Stephen Paul, who by his adoptive parents would be named Steve Jobs. Number 2. He was a college dropout. Steve Jobs dropped out of college so he could drop into classes that looked more interesting. At Reed College, he took the best calligraphy course in the country, where he learned typefaces that would later be incorporated into the Mac computer. Number 3. He can't write a single line of code and wasn't even an engineer. Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak wrote, "Steve didn't never code. He wasn't an engineer and he didn't do any original design, but he was technical enough to alter, change, and add to other designs." Number 4. He was fired from Apple. Then CEO John Sculley moved to reassign Jobs away from the Macintosh product group after several failed attempts to break IBM's control of the PC market. In response, Jobs went directly to the board of directors, who sided with Sculley. Though he would publicly proclaim that he was fired from Apple after the incident, Sculley stated that he voluntarily left. Number 5. He was the youngest millionaire on the Forbes list. It's easy to assume that Jobs made his fortune because of the iPhone, but Investopedia notes that Jobs has been rich since the early days of Apple. In 1978, just 2 years after Apple was founded, Jobs' net worth was more than $1 million. The next year, that grew to over $10 million, and would eventually reach more than $250 million by his 25th birthday. Number 6. He was the co-founder of Pixar. In 1986, alongside Ed Catmull and Alvy Ray Smith, Jobs founded Pixar. The company would initially make computers, but would eventually move to creating CG animation for commercials. In the early 90s, Pixar began working on its first feature film. You may know it as Toy Story. In January of 2006, Jobs would sell Pixar to Disney in a deal worth more than $7.4 billion. Number 7. He was a brilliant marketer. Though Steve Jobs made computers, music players, telephones, and tablets, mostly what he sold were two things: beauty and truth. As Apple's core brand values, they were inseparable. His products looked better, and he firmly believed that they were better. By being better than rival products, they would improve the world and move culture forward. In this sense, Jobs felt that good taste wasn't a luxury. It was a moral choice. If you sold an inferior product, you were a liar. If you were successful at it, a tyrant. If you bought it, you were a sucker. Number 8. He was very punctual. Steve Jobs was very punctual and never late to the office. Let me tell you an interesting story about punctuality as it relates to Steve Jobs. A secretary once told Jobs that she was late for work because her car wouldn't start. Jobs would come back the same afternoon and throw her a set of keys to a brand new Jaguar, saying, "Here, don't be late anymore." Number 9. Jobs and Hare Krishna Temple. During his brief time at college, he was homeless and he was sleeping on the floor of his friend's dorm room. He would collect Coke bottles to purchase food, and every Sunday he would walk 7 miles across town to Hare Krishna Temple. Number 10. Apple without Steve Jobs. Apple former CEO John Sculley has admitted that he felt he failed during his tenure at Apple, saying, "In hindsight, we should have done things differently, and it is a tremendous disappointment." Despite their turbulent past, Sculley now believes that Steve Jobs is the only one who can turn Apple back around. Sculley said, "Apple is a cult, and the person who created that cult is Steve." Thanks for watching Lux Life. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and enable bell notifications to get more videos like this one.